Most people saw Rosie's post. Nobody read the sentence underneath it that made the whole thing make sense. 20 years. That is the distance between the 2006 View studio and the February 2026 Instagram post. 20 years of a feud that has been described, in every outlet that has covered it, as a personality conflict between two loud people who cannot tolerate each other. What it actually is, what the February 2026 post reveals when you read it beside every other document in the 20-year archive, is something more precise and more revealing than a personality conflict. It is a record, a documented, time-stamped, publicly available record of a single pattern, described in real time as it operated, by the one person in public life who recognized the pattern early enough to name it before most observers had a framework for what they were watching. And what Rosie says in the Dublin apartment, in the MSNBC segment that becomes the most shared political clip of the September week it airs, is not a revelation. It is a completion. The final document in a 20-year archive that has been building to the sentence she says about Melania's party conversation, and the sentence she says about memory and citizenship, and what cannot be revoked. But the completion only carries its full weight if you understand the first document, the one from 2006, the one that started everything. January 2006. The View. Barbara Walters is still at the table. Elizabeth Hasselbeck is still at the table. Rosie O'Donnell, in her first of 2 runs on the program, is at the table. Donald Trump has just presided over a press conference in which he announced, with characteristic ceremony, that he was not going to fire Miss USA Tara Conner, despite her public misconduct, that he had decided, in his role as a competition's owner, to give her a second chance. O'Donnell produces a commentary. She does it in the View format, the hot topic segment, the table, the other host responding in real time. And what she says is not polished and is not precise and is, in several places, unfair in the specific ways that commentary produced for morning television is unfair when it is not given the space to be careful. She questions Trump's moral authority as a judge of other people's behavior. She references his marriages, his bankruptcies, his self-promotional style. She does not use precise language. She uses the language of exasperation. Trump responds the way he responds to everyone who says something he does not want said. He calls her a loser. He calls her ugly. He calls her fat. He says she has a fat, ugly face. He says she is a degenerate. He says she is a slob. He says he will sue her. He says she will lose. He says these things on every available platform, radio, television, print, with the stamina of someone who has identified the correct instrument and intends to use it until the problem disappears. The instrument is personal appearance. The instrument is weight. The instrument is a specific vocabulary that is applied to women who say things men with power do not want said, the vocabulary that does not address what was said, but addresses the person who said it, the body the person inhabits, the relationship between the body and its right to speak. Not your argument is wrong. Not here are the facts that counter your claim. Your face, your weight, your voice, your existence as a body that should not be occupying the space it is occupying. 20 years later, in a February 2026 Instagram post addressed directly to Trump, Donald, Rosie O'Donnell writes, publicly labeling women crazy has long been your preferred method of silencing those who dare to challenge you. She is not writing about 2006. She is writing about the pattern that 2006 established and that 20 years of documented evidence has confirmed in case after case after case. E. Jean Carroll, the Access Hollywood tape women, Stormy Daniels, the journalists at briefing room podiums, the female prosecutors in the courtroom, Catherine Lucy, and the word piggy. The vocabulary shifts, crazy, fat, ugly, nasty, horse-faced, piggy, but the instrument is the same instrument. It does not address the claim. It addresses the body. It addresses the right to speak. It applies the specific vocabulary that is designed to make a woman question whether the cost of speaking is worth what the speaking costs. She knows this because the instrument was used on her first, in 2006, in full public view, with the stamina of someone who had been using it long before 2006 and would continue using it long after. The Dublin apartment. September 2025. MSNBC. Nicole Wallace has asked about the Trump marriage. O'Donnell is on a remote feed. the specific low-resolution warmth of a video call from a European time zone, the background of life being lived in a different country from the country that produced a 20-year archive she is about to complete. She describes the party. She says she was there before any of the titles, before First Lady, before campaign, when Melania was still Melania, a woman in a room in New York who was being observed by everyone in the room in a specific way that women who accompany powerful men are observed in rooms. She says she watched how Melania moved through the room. She says she asked how she was. She says she meant it. Then the sentence, better than anyone knows and worse than anyone thinks. This is the document at the center of the archive, not because it is the most dramatic sentence in the 20-year record. It is not because it is the most politically significant. It is not that either, because it is the sentence that completes the question that has been running through the record since 2006. What does it cost a woman to be in proximity to this man's power? And does she know what it costs? And has she decided what she is willing to pay? Melania's answer, better than anyone knows and worse than anyone thinks, contains both sides of the ledger simultaneously. It acknowledges the private resources that public observation misses, and the private costs that public observation underestimates. It is the sentence of someone who has taken a complete inventory, who knows the exact terms of the arrangement, and who has decided to describe those terms honestly to someone who asked honestly. O'Donnell holds the sentence in the Dublin apartment for a moment after she says it. Then she says the thing that the Melania sentence requires beside it to be complete. He can manage critics. He cannot manage memories. Wallace asks, why not? Because memories don't have bodies. O'Donnell says, you can't call a memory ugly. You can't call a memory fat. You can't call a memory crazy. The instrument doesn't work on memories. It only works on people who are still there, still present, still in the room where the instrument is being applied. I left the room. Pause. Melania hasn't, and that's her choice, and I respect it. But I left the room. And from outside the room, what the instrument looks like is different than what it looks like from inside. From outside the room, what it looks like is a document. 20 years of the same document. And documents don't respond to being called fat. The clip is online within 14 minutes. Trump posts at 11:22 p.m. He calls O'Donnell a total disaster who moved to another country because nobody wanted her here. He says she is mentally very disturbed. He notes that her television career ended in complete failure. He says she is making up conversations with Melania that never happened and never could have happened. He does not address the document. He does not address the 20-year pattern. He does not address better than anyone knows and worse than anyone thinks. He applies the instrument. The post is screenshot at 11:25 p.m. On the left side of the split screen, O'Donnell in Dublin, describing a 20-year pattern in the flat, analytical register of someone who has left the room and can see the instrument clearly from outside it. On the right side, the instrument, operating in real time, in a specific vocabulary, mentally disturbed disaster failure that has been using since 2006 and that has never addressed a single substantive claim made by any of the people it has been applied to. The document is complete. It has always been complete. Every application of the instrument is another entry. Every entry confirms the pattern. Every confirmation of the pattern is another reason the 20 years of archive cannot be addressed by the instrument, because the instrument only works on people who are still in the room, and the document exists outside any room the instrument controls. Memories are harder to revoke than citizenship, O'Donnell says near the end of the segment. Trump posts about Ireland and mental health. The document holds. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications. The next confrontation is already building. And once you see what's coming, you'll understand why silence is always louder than power.